Hello, dear classmates and tutor. This is me, Pedro Juliana Maya Muñoz. And for this time, I'm going to talk a little bit about Tax 5, creating a lecture. And this is for course Advanced English 1. And for this opportunity, I'm going to board some reflections and arguments about Me Too. It's a movement, not a moment, by the author Tara Kaburk. And so there are some important references. Uh, I'm watching the video, I could analyze and I can review, like short summary with some words, and other taking from other reference that I could see and notice will be important to sharing in this lecture. So first of all, I'm going to start saying that critical and cultural studies. Scholars have long debated the promise and the perils of pressing empathy, the sensation of shared feelings and experience into toppling systems of oppression in the abstract. Instead, I consider how Trana Burke's Me Too movement, which seeks empowerment through empathy, counters the cruelty of sexual harassment and assault. And the movement is not simply a dipstick used to nurture per, the pervasiveness of sexual harassment and sexual assault. And rather, like other forms of conscience raising, Me Too seeks to prove a point. It reveals something already known to many women and men. However, it doesn't, nor did it, stop here, even if in the first instance a call for women and men to arise their hands. The movement quickly reached beyond this founding goal. Feminist legal reformers saw great potential for the law to provide an answer to the ongoing problem of sexual violence. Law could provide women with a framework to both describe their violent and dehumanizing experience and seek justice for these crimes. By promoting the rule of law as the answer to sexual violence, feminist legal reformers were rendering rape and sexual assault a public problem. No longer was sexual violence a private matter that women were required to endure on their own or in the private spheres that other women inhabited. Instead, feminists argued that rape, similar to any other crime, was an assault on the values of a just society and required a policy support and a legally sanctioned punishment. For the most part, these attempts were successful. Reforms eventually made their way to every state in the nation, and in many ways legal reforms continue to change how we think about rape and sexual assault. There are, however, limits to these efforts, some of which stem from formal legal institutional constraints and others that emanate from gendered conceptions of bodily autonomy that have become entwined within the fabric of American law. Burke then defines empathy as that feeling of sharing an experience of being in one's same shoes, by first connecting between counselors, girls, and young women of color. Me Too's programming, counseling, and advocacy seek to equip girls with knowledge and skills they need to thrive as sexual assault survivors, victim survivors, Their mission statements underscores often feels alone, isolated, ashamed of, and blamed for the assault. Thus, Me Too aims of foresting empathy between survivors can empower individuals to begin healing from sexual assault. One of the main goals of the Me Too movement is to give young women, particularly young women of color from low health communities, a sense of empowerment from the understanding that they are not alone in their circumstances. Some communities encourage women of color to stay silent, not seek counseling from rape crisis centers, and not report offenses to law enforcement. Crisis centers failure to do outreach heightens these victims' isolation, thus for low-income survivors of color. The power of empathy is certainly undervalued, as the movement mission explains. Me Too as a movement based on the empowerment through empathy seeks to help survivors gain power as individuals to feel valued. The movement has a second mission: to become an agent for exploring systems of oppression and privilege, of which sexual harassment and assault are cause and effect. Me Too's incarnation as a hashtag imperialed and reinforced Brooks' commitment to focusing the conversation on power and privilege. Understanding the context of Me Too Genesis is important to understanding how Brooke remobilized this commitment as the hashtag gained publicity. So, in conclusion, the author, Burke, and other activists contextualize Me Too as a part of a broader counter-white supremacist partialist movement. Burke demands centering marginalized communities in public discourse to help individuals and highlight systems of oppression that sexual violence service. Okay guys, so that this is all my reflection about this video request, and I hope you could understand me and possible, and thank you for hearing me and watching me, and see you for the next video next time. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.